In June 2019, I took to the road to ask people from all over the country about their dreams. I thought I would be learning about them, but I'm also learning about myself. Join me and see what you find out about yourself as you listen to other people answer the 3 dream questions. This is Frank, and I'm going to ask him the 3 dream questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What are your hopes and your dreams? And you can decide on whatever level you'd like.
Well, let's talk about current ones first. And I think my current dream, not just for me but for others, is to develop a sense of understanding of others and where they're coming from, and maybe more. I hope to have for others is a more sense of empathy about other people in not just your own life, but other people not in your life who you think are bad people. And one of the things I've learned from all the traveling I've done is that there are an awful lot of people who are very different from me, but they're nice people and they're good people, and they love their children as much as we do, and they want to have a good life as much as we do. And I think that's kind of a hope that I have for not just myself, of trying to deepen that sense of understanding and compassion and empathy, but for others as well. To turn the clock back to being a little boy, I didn't.
This would be question number 2.
Yeah, well, I didn't think about it that way at all. I remember being a very lonely little boy, and my desire, if you will, was that I not be lonely. And I don't think that has anything to do with being alone. I think there was something in me that may have come from my mother and father being divorced when I was about 3 years old, and being raised by a father who was not a nurturing father, although he cared about me, and he cared about my sister and my stepbrother who came later. But he wasn't, let's say, warm and fuzzy at all. Never was read to, never was taken out for to a ball game or to play ball with or anything like that. And that's something is kind of a dream I had as a boy, was not being lonely. And part of not being lonely was a sense of togetherness as a family, which I never felt. That leads into, I think, a little bit of this. What would I tell 13-year-old Frank or young teenagers? Yeah. And I think I was really hard on myself in those years. That there's something wrong with me, that I'm the way I am. I was impatient with others, but it was really an impatient with myself. And I think learning how to be patient, you will, those feelings will pass. You'll develop a broader perspective, and you won't believe that I'm telling you this now, but but remember, I was a teenager too at one point, and you're not unique in the world in that regard. There are a lot of teenagers who have this angst about life and how things are not going to get better. I know that suicide and depression in general has been on the increase in a lot of places, and
You made the distinction earlier about loneliness and being alone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a lot of friends. I mean, I was popular in school.
Because I think what you're going to do, I've got young people that are following this. Yeah. Because I was a teacher, and I imagine some of them might be in the same place you are. All kinds of media, all kinds of friends, but very alone.
Well, there's certainly been, just in the last 20 years, an explosion of ways of being connected with other people, be it Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatever it might be. There are ways to be in touch, but that has nothing to do with, having friends or having acquaintances is not the same as not being lonely. Loneliness is something that comes from a feeling, I think, of there's something missing inside me that I wish were there. And it could be, in my case, perhaps, although who knows, in my case, I think it's a feeling that someone was caring enough about me, nurturing me in a way that I didn't feel I was getting. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's a feeling I've reflected on for years about. And it was missing then, and I don't think it's really a problem now, because after all, I am 75 years old, and you do after a time start saying, well, get over it. That's the way the world is for you.
Would you go back and say that to the 12-year-old Frank?
Yeah, well,
or how would you?
Yeah, be patient with yourself.
Be patient.
Yeah, be patient. I mean, things will change. Things get better. Now, you've got to work to make them better sometimes. It's not just going to happen naturally. If you're a complacent person, be involved, be engaged.
So there's a saying that I've said to my students, there are three kinds of people, you know. The people who can count, the people who can't. And then but that's not what I mean. What I'm saying, there are people that make things happen. There are people who watch things happen, and there are people who sit back and say, "Duh, what just happened?" Type of a thing. And you're saying be actively engaged.
Yeah, be engaged with. I don't say you have to go out and be a member of some activist group, or you have to necessarily join the Glee Club, or be.
Even if it's just
football.
With yourself, be somebody.
Well, but I think it's being aware of and being engaged with the activities of others, and in terms of trying to understand other people. And I think when you start trying to understand other people, you see, I can see why that might be fun, or might be an interesting thing to do, or might be worthwhile.
And that loops back to your hope for the world, it sounds like, of empathy.
Yeah. No.
And have empathy with yourself.
Perhaps the most interesting time of my life was in my early 20s to early 30s. It was at a time when there was a lot of unrest in the world, in not just the U.S. but in the world over the Vietnam War, and I was very engaged in that. I think all the people I was, and as part of this was, engagement with others. It was an exciting time, but it was a hopeful time. We thought we could actually make a difference. I think today I don't feel that sense of optimism among young people. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm not a young person, but I don't get that as much. I mean, it seems more despair over, will we ever get any kind of sensible gun control legislation passed? I mean, think about the kids down in Florida in Parkland who have been trying and feeling they don't get it. The old people don't get it. That we really need to do something. And so I can see where the despair would come in, but we didn't have that. We weren't really making a difference in the sense of, sure, we got Lyndon Johnson not to run for re-election when they say that he lost Walter Cronkite. He's lost the American people. But did we make the war end sooner? I'm not sure. I mean, we had a lot more troops at the height of the Vietnam War than we ever had in Afghanistan or Iraq. We had over 400,000 troops at one point. But we still thought we could make a difference. This would be an especially interesting question if the interview had taken place just before going to bed, because then I would go to bed and I would rehash everything I had said and every question you had asked and every probe that you had tried to make, and the next morning I would have 8 or 10 new things I would want to say.